Hello and welcome to day 2 of the Magic Online Championships. I'm Brian David Marshall, the Pro Tour historian, flanked by two guys who are a big part of the game's history, Pro Tour Hall of Famer Luis Scott Vargas, Pro Tour Hall of Famer Randy Buehler, and we are about to watch 16 players go into day 2 and try to get their way into the top 4 here of this Magic Online Championship. There's a lot on the line. Let's talk a little bit about what these guys are doing. We can show you a little bit about what we're going to see today with the schedule and the formats that these guys are following. So, yesterday we watched players play 3 rounds of Modern. 3 rounds of Modern. I keep wanting to say Modern Masters Draft. Cube Draft.
Modern Masters would have been fun.
Modern Masters would have been awesome. There we go. 3 rounds of Cube Draft. 4 rounds of Modern. Playing on Magic Online, Swiss pairings, best of 3 matches. And now the players are have settled into a standing order, and we're going to be going into Born of the Gods booster draft.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool schedule all in all. 14-round tournament for 16 players. So you get a lot of chances to play a lot of Magic. Trying to test these players in 4 different formats is also sort of super skill intensive. We really are going to see the cream rise to the top of this standing stage. And then that Sunday, after we cut to the top 4 at the end of today, will be standard once again.
Right. Luis, you've been in tournaments like this. How much do you sweat your standard choice as you come down? You have to have submitted your deck by now, and where you are in the standings and what record you need. How much do you start to sweat that deck choice?
So the one tournament I did play in that was the Players' Championship 2 years ago, and that was actually just all Modern. There's only one deck choice. But the cool thing about that is you start playing, and there's 2 segments of Modern. It was Cube, Modern, and also M13 Draft. So you were already locked in on your deck, and you knew you had to play more rounds of it, and you knew what everyone else was playing.
Right.
And here it's a little bit different because all the players are locked in on their standard decks, but they don't know what anyone else is playing yet. I mean, after round 1 you will, and then you'll get a sense of the field. So it's pretty interesting because it's like it's out of your hands, fire and forget. You're already done with it, but you do have to play all the games still. And the way the standard it works right now, there's very few 80-20 matchups. So even if you're like, well, I wish I'd played a different deck for the field, maybe you have 45% matchups instead of 65% matchups.
Right. We heard from tournament front runner Lars Dom last night that he was like, well, maybe I would have liked a little bit more time to test this deck. Let's take a look at the leaderboard at the end of day 1 and see who.
Well, we got to see what these guys are playing for first.
Oh, we do. We have prize payouts. So let's take a look at the payout for this tournament.
The money on the line here is just crazy. It's a 16-person tournament with $116,000.
$4,000 for showing up.
Yeah, just showing up. Last place, $4,000.
Yeah, which is I've never played a tournament like that. That seems like a nice consolation prize.
Yeah, and that $25,000 first prize, we were talking about this. What would you pegged it at significantly more value?
Yeah,
than that, right,
I thought. To me personally, I would value it closer to $40,000 in the sense that you get to play in this tournament again next year. You're qualified for this, and I think more importantly, you're qualified for the World Championship.
Yes.
I mean, both the tournaments are awesome, and you love to play in both. The World Championship is actually the bridge into actual Pro Tour success.
Oh yeah.
And that's one of the coolest things about the Magic Online Championship is that we've seen a number of players like Reed Duke, for example, jump from Magic Online to the Pro Tour.
Yeah, and I know that we talk about the way that Magic Online in the Grand Prix coverage, if you've been watching streams over the years, we talk about a lot about people chasing pro points and chasing levels. And one of the things that people are most questing after is those spots at the World Championships. Like, that is a super elite tournament. It's only 24 players.
Right.
One of the spots goes to one of these guys.
And also, just not on that price schedule, all of these players have qualified for the Pro Tour by virtue of qualifying for this tournament.
By the way,
they get on the Pro Tour, and we saw someone like Sean McLaren turn that, opportunity into a Pro Tour championship.
Yeah, I actually played Big Luke at the Pro Tour Valencia, and he qualified because of the mocks.
Right.
Sure.
And we still have some players who haven't cashed that invite yet. But some of these players are going to Atlanta.
If they couldn't make it to Valencia or didn't want to, they got to roll it into Atlanta instead.
All right. So,
we are playing all these matches on Magic Online.
Yeah, we're going to be playing on Magic Online. So this is a little different. How much different do you find tournaments on Magic Online versus playing paper Magic?
I actually just made a choice at Grand Prix Cincinnati. I was deciding whether I'd play Elixir of Immortality or Aetherling as my kill condition. And one of the differences, on Magic Online, Elixir is great because each player has their own clock. And Elixir, if I play fast, I don't have to worry about how fast my opponent's going. In live Magic, if they're playing slowly, you're just not going to finish the round, even if you're playing quickly. So each player having their own chess clock, which I think would be awesome for live, though I understand it's completely not feasible.
Right.
does actually change, I think, some
Right.
choices. I mean, that was a deck choice choice for me because I knew I couldn't count on finishing a match with Elixir live, but on Magic Online, as long as you play fast, you're fine.
Right. That sounds bizarre. Finishing a match with Elixir.
Yeah, well,
Funny.
Let's take a look at some of the difference between Magic Online and playing paper Magic.
Right.
We have I think a slide prepared for that, and we can see where those things are a little bit different. No match draws, intentional or otherwise,
Yep.
is a big
Somebody's
deal.
clock, somebody's flag is going to fall. Somebody's going to lose on time. No match can possibly end in a draw.
50 minutes to complete each round, but the big difference here is what you alluded to, Luis, 25 minutes apiece. You have 25 minutes of playing time. I have 25 minutes of playing time, and you have to get your match done before then.
there are some decks which that is a struggle for. If you're going off with Melirapod, you can't gain a couple hundred life. You can't even get 1,000. There's no way you're getting 1,000
Right.
life. I was talking with Lars. He went 4-0 with Melirapod, and we were talking at dinner the day before, and we both pegged it at around 60 life. When you go off, you get to around 60, and then pass
And the clicks
turn.
aren't worth it anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
All these guys who are veteran Magic Online players also have all these sort of clock math for okay, this is what you do if you're playing against Storm. This is where
F6
you
is
yield
very
priority. And then the other big deal here is what we've come to see at the Pro Tour and even at Grand Prix lately is the idea of seeding, mattering for who gets to go first in the top 8. But we're going to be on the die roll here, so regardless of players' records, it's going to be die roll that determines who goes
That's
first.
not true even PTQs as well. So
What's that?
even in PTQs as well. So, but because there's no draws on Magic Online, it's not
Right.
like you can make a strategic choice there either.
Right,
I mean,
right,
you're just
right,
going to play
right.
your match.
Yeah, I'm with Luis. I feel like the Mitgo, it works better if you can't with the chess clock. I mean, if real life could have some of these things, it would.
Sure. Yeah, and again, just to reiterate, you're not going to see an intentional draw in this
There will
tournament.
be no IDs.
So let's take a look at who we have in this tournament and where they stand going into these last 7 rounds of the Swiss. We already talked about Lars Dom on top from Denmark at 6-1. Guy has a 70%
Yeah,
win
69
percentage.
point something. Absolutely insane
We
winning
can
percentage.
69 point something. We can call it 70. We can give it to him.
A big number.
It's ridiculous.
I'm going to interrogate him later on exactly what he plays on Magic Online to figure it out. If it's all like the two player classic
he
queues
said,
or something.
He said it's all Momir Vig.
Yeah, there we go. Well, that's even more impressive.
Probably true. Yeah, but no one else is over 65%. Like the next highest
Right.
is 64 point something.
Tomasz Glede from Hungary, 6-1 as well. Those are, there's no undefeated players left at the end of day one. Tomasz, someone who has both. Actually, Lars also. We saw he has 11 Pro Tour.
Yeah, Lars has
appearances.
played more PTs than anybody else in this field at 11.
Tomasz Glede has some Pro Tour experience and also has a couple of top 75s, top 50s. He's made day 2 a few times. He was
World
top
Magic
4,
Cup for Hungary,
top
too.
4 for Hungary in the World Magic Cup. Ansi Alkio, of course, at 4-3, coming off of a top 8 at Pro Tour Born of the Gods.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a top 4 even. He
Yeah.
he ended up beating multiple Vidalkin Shackles in this quarterfinal match, which was
That was
really
a great
tough.
match. Yeah, look at that 2-match gap in the standings there. 6-1 dropping down to 4-3. Tomasz and Lars are in great shape to hold on to top 4 spots through 7 rounds of today. And then look at the scrum. 6 different players at 4-3, and then 5 more at 3-4. Fully 11 players within a half game of 500 right now.
Right, and just shouting out to Hannes Karim there. Again, a world's top 4 competitor.
Yep.
Back in the old world, so that's a Pro Tour top 4.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I was actually talking to Bing Luke, who's 3-4 right now, and he said he actually looked at some of the records you might need to make top 4, and he seemed pretty confident that all the 10-4s will make it and some amount of 9-5s will make it.
Oh,
Oh wow!
But
Okay.
of course, the caveat there is it really depends on how the 6-1s do.
Yeah.
Whether if one of them goes 13-1,
Right.
then the records you need to get 4th is going to be a lot lower because they're going to be
Exactly.
beating good people with good records. But it could end up with a very, very strange looking top 4. The records cut in a 14-round tournament with 16
Yes.
players is always kind of bizarre.
And
All
so we're going to be watching, I believe, Lars Dom draft.
That's the plan.
And the format is going to be Born of the Gods, Theros draft. And so let's take a little bit, quick run through some of the archetypes in this draft format.
Sure.
And some of the things that maybe we'll see. We'll just do this kind of like lightning round style and just talk about a card that really jumps out at you. Starting with maybe the red-white slide. A personal favorite of mine.
This is where you want to be?
It's where I would love to be. I'd love to, just sort of cut red, white in pack 1 and get an annex and some ED in pack 2.
Sure.
That kind of thing. But I don't know if we have those slides ready or not. There we go. Oh, get some standings again, and then Yeah. So this is red white. Very aggressive. What do you like in this draft?
Well,
strategy?
it's got the best common in Born of the Gods, which Crown Skyguard. So, I mean, just starting from that, you're already in good shape. And I think a good white-based heroic deck is just the best deck overall, whether it's red, white, or a couple other different color combinations.
Black, white.
Well,
white,
black, white's
green.
probably the fourth of those, but
Right.
but red, white followed by white, blue followed by white, green
Right.
followed by black, white. Any of the white-based heroic strategies, just they're the fastest and
Right. Let's keep flipping through these slides here. We can see some of the cards that people draft in this archetype. We know you already mentioned the Sky Guard, but
after the heroic creatures, like Skyguard and Wingsteed Rider and whatnot, it's all pretty much the same. It's all like you want good curve
Yes,
fillers.
please.
So it's not too picky as long as it has the cheap cards.
right. So here we go. We see green blue.
Your favorite, I'm sure.
It's definitely one of my favorites. It's not my favorite if I'm really trying to win.
It's this one that has your heart.
It
Maybe not
does,
Your head,
it
but your
does.
heart.
Yeah, and this is a bit more of a niche archetype. Kuro's Follower, as you can see, is actually one of the best cards for the deck.
That's a card that will send me that.
But I wouldn't be
description.
surprised to see a draft where nobody's green blue.
Yeah. White blue. So
Yeah, no, this
archetype
is-
you seem to like a lot.
I do. I mean, I'm with LSV in that, you want to be base white heroic if you can get it, and then touching blue for some of the bounce spells in particular, some bestow creatures, maybe some flying. That's just an excellent supplement to the awesome white heroic base.
Yeah, Ornitharch, one of the best non-rares,
Yeah.
in the set.
I like Stormcall of Karanos as the blue-red card. Like, blue-red it's not the most popular archetype. You kind of got to get specific cards. It's not like there's a lot of redundancy
Yeah,
in the
actually,
two colors.
It's generally not where you want to be, but sometimes you end up
Well,
there.
going into Pro Tour Born of the Gods, our team had pegged this as 10th in the archetype
wow.
list. Not that it can't be successfully drafted, but that is the one that is least likely to come together.
Yeah, you don't set out to draft it. You got to
No.
get, I think, specific cards.
The
Like
problem is
Stormcaller.
it doesn't have as much synergy as some of the other archetypes, and you're just relying on card strength.
Where did you guys have red green?
Red green is good. The problem with red green is that red is kind of a shallow color. It's much better in Born of the Gods than it was in just Theros.
Right.
But you don't want to have like a heavy. It's hard to have a heavy base red deck unless it's really open.
Yep, keep going. Black red. This is an archetype I think Nate Holt famously declared his love for in the Walk the Plains
41
video.
cards, 18 lands. That's the plan.
Math-based formula.
Absolutely.
I actually just saw Randy draft a Ragemonger deck yesterday with like 7 or 8 other Minotaurs.
Yeah, it was more
and-
like a 7 rare deck. It was just
Yeah.
black and red, and oh, by the way, Minotaurs. Yeah, but the Ragemonger is what got me. And I'm like, I took a black rare, took a red rare, and sometimes you get there.
This is actually my favorite archetype right now.
This was my favorite in Triple Theros, and I think it's still good once you had Born of the
Yeah,
Gods.
like you just find yourself able to. Becomes more of a black devotion deck,
Yeah.
and you actually just get to force people out of black for pack 2.
Yeah, the
and
ideal-
you get to reap the rewards in the subsequent packs.
Yeah,
Yep.
forcing black I think is really powerful here because people will now pass Grey Merchant of Asphodel where they just didn't used to ever pass that card.
And much like any green-white, just like all the other white X archetypes, is dominated by white being the main color. And,
No,
Right,
you
so
can occasionally, like last night I did draft one that was base green. I had like triple Cetessan Oathsworn where I
Yeah.
actually passed a Phalanx Leader in order to take Hopeful Eidolon because you really have to have a base color. Like you can't just be split 50-50 in
No,
colors
that-
in any of these
that's
archetypes.
just not a good
You
idea.
got to pick one and then splash the other.
Although Phalanx Leader, not really a 2-drop.
Still double white.
Yes. White black. This is a strategy I think that a lot of people will end up in. You're trying to be white heroic, and maybe it doesn't quite work out. And there's a lot of synergy here.
Yeah, I like the white-black control deck a lot more. Scholar
Yeah,
of
Scholar
Theros is
become-
very good.
Sure,
Exactly.
Baleful Eidolon.
The white-black aggro deck's a little confused mana-wise,
Yeah.
trying to cast Tormented Heroes and Phalanx Leaders.
Well, Baleful Eidolon. Okay, black green. This is something Marshall and Rashad seem to
Sure.
really favor. Although there's not enough hyphens in that title for what they really try to do.
Yeah.
Grave Robber Spider Bile Blight.
Yeah, it can be a legit graveyard strategy, right?
Sure. Oh, absolutely. Voyaging Satyr
Satyr
Wayfinder
Wayfinder,
has actually become a card that you see people,
Playing
taking
their
maybe
standard decks.
7 or 8. Yeah, absolutely. And it does a lot of the same things.
Yeah.
So I think we're ready, though, to see what Lars Dom and his 69-point-something match win percentage thinks about the Born of the
Sounds
Gods
good.
format. We're going to watch him draft, and we're ready to go down to the floor and get underway here at Day 2 of the Magic Online Championship. Hello and welcome to day 2 of the Magic Online Championship. We are going to be drafting Born of the Gods. We're going to be watching Lars Dom from Denmark. There you get a look at him. And we are going to be watching over his shoulder as he makes his way through the packs. What are we thinking about here?
So Bolt of Keranos, as he's looking at, what immediately jumps out at me. I mean, taking Bolt over Painseer seems like a very reasonable choice. Bolt is just a strong card and one of the better commons, even if I don't really love jumping in with red. The next pack, he's got a Siren of the Fanged, or rather, the Siren of the Silent Song, and then also Retraction Helix. I really like Retraction Helix. I think it's the best blue common.
I do as well.
And
I like Divination a lot, but I'm not taking its second pick here out of this pack.
Yeah, well, I also like Divination here, but in general, yeah, you can't second pick it in this format. And as much as I just mentioned that red-blue was my least favorite archetype, I think you can just start by taking the best card out of the first couple packs and just going with that.
Well, if it's also the worst archetype, it also means that if there's support cards for it, that they're going to go later.
Yeah, I think that this isn't quite the same as when you're drafting with like Gate Crash, where you really need to cut the guy to your left because you need to get the guild back in pack 2. I think that here you can just kind of not settle into your colors till around pick 4 or 5 and still end up in a good shape.
What do you do with this pack, though? Do you Sudden Storm? It's not good in red-blue.
I would just take Sudden Storm and try not to be in red, but you could also check Archetype of Aggression. I think those are the two cards I like the best.
Fearsome Temper not in play here for you?
I like Archetype more. I think it's reasonable to take it.
He took Archetype.
There's another Attraction. Oh, stop. Everyone stop.
There's the Oracle's
There's
Insight.
an Oracle's Insight, please.
You're going to want to take Retraction Helix if you're looking at red-blue, just because you got 2 double red cards and you're in 3 picks in already. I mean, you're going to want to play 10 or 11 mountains in your deck, especially with Dragon Mantles in the next 2 packs.
Yeah.
But Retraction Helix is a great card for red-blue. I mean, if you're going to draft the red-blue deck, Retraction Helix is the kind of tempo card you want.
A number of good blue cards here still. Like the Vortex Elemental is fine. The Sudden Storm's pretty good.
Blue does seem to be open. I'd be pretty happy if I had 3 blue cards at this point, but even with just 2.
How about an Afara's Enlightenment?
That's where I'd go next. Afara's Enlightenment is really powerful. Getting it 5th pick is also a pretty good sign.
You wouldn't just Divination to stay true to red-blue? Because I feel like you can draft red-blue control-ish and card advantage-y. I mean, not the Retraction Helixes aren't as good in that archetype, but...
I mean, of the 4 cards that Lars has, Bolt of Keranos is really the only control-ish card there. Retraction Helix is okay, but...
that's fair.
I would just take Afara's Enlightenment because it's the most powerful card. You can take Divination. I mean,
He's
I'm never going to argue strictly against it, but...
I mean, it gets better with cards like Retraction Helix that are cheap and let you sort of regain tempo in the game, right?
Blue is the most...
Tempo and card advantage don't go together super well,
though. Blue is the most open I've ever seen here with, like, Chorus of the Tide, 6 pick. So I think as long as Lars stays blue, he's going to end up in a decent spot. I don't think he should feel locked into red yet. He first picked a red card and third picked a red card. And he sees red cards here. Pinnacle of Rage is fine. Fearsome Temper is fine. I think you just take the blue card.
Yeah, neither of them are as good as the Chorus, right?
No, I don't believe so. Pinnacle of Rage looks like it's really good, but at 6 mana and only dealing 3, I mean 3 to 2 targets, but still just 3.
Right.
It doesn't match up well against the other 5 and 6 cost cards your opponents play.
People have usually Voltroned up something
if you could
larger
do
than that
3
by then.
twice to the same target as an optional, so it would be a little better. And there's another Chorus of Tides.
Well, the
there's
Chorus keeps singing here. I mean, he just...
Blue is wide
Flitter
open.
Step, Eidolon, Springleaf Drum.
Yeah.
How good is Flitter Step?
It's okay,
Yeah,
but
it's fine.
it's not great. The problem is it costs 6 to bestow and only adds 1 power.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, it makes it unblockable, but I mean, Chorus I think is the easy pick here. And you know, as long as you just end up with like a pile of 7 or 8 blue cards after this pack, you can be a little flexible. If you open an insane rare in a different color in pack 2, just take it at that point.
So you would nullify here?
Actually, yeah, I like Nullify. If you can play 10 islands in your deck, Nullify is a fine card. The reason it doesn't see a ton of play is that blue is generally a support color. It's hard to get 15 blue cards for your deck, but. If there's a draft to get 15 blue cards, this is definitely it. Lars already has 6 good ones or 7 good ones.
And Floodtide Serpent, playable, a trap, too tricky.
It's playable. He doesn't have any of the combos with it, like Stratus Walk, or he might be able to pick up a Fate Foretold. But I think
you mentioned Dragon Mantle though. Like the best of those to combo with is the Dragon Mantle. Probably.
Yeah, I would probably have just taken the Serpent just to cut blue completely.
Well, there's a chance a blue-black card comes back here.
The Siren.
He was just he's like, well, maybe no one's blue-black.
Jeez, there's still a Divination in this pack.
Yeah,
and a Nyxborn Rollicker.
Yeah, Nyxborn Rollicker is a solid card. I think you just take the Divination and realize you don't want to be playing red cards here. So really, the only big difference. Oh yeah, this Nullify is great. We could see a mono blue deck. We could see a deck with like 3 off-color cards, whatever best 3 off-color cards Lars finds,
Single
and
color
20 blue cards. Yes, hopefully.
So he doesn't have any of those 3 cards yet.
Yeah. I mean, I think the only difference between what he has and what I would have is I would have an Afar's Enlightenment over one of the divinations. But other than that, I think, and I would probably have a Sudden Storm over the Archetype. But other than that, he's like in really good shape here. I mean, anytime you can draft 10 good blue cards in pack 1, you've got to be happy.
He only has 4 creatures, and he only has 2 of them in the color he's playing.
Yeah, but that's not the end of the world. That can be fixed.
Sure.
Yeah, there are so many creatures in the Theros packs.
Well, another reason this is great for Lars is that Board of the Gods is just a lower power level than Theros. So getting this many good cards out of Board of the Gods is a huge boon.
You see him starting to sculpt the cards he thinks he might play.
I noticed the Fellhide Brawler and Grizzly Transformation are not yet in the sideboard.
No, they're still in the deck. And this is one of the cool things about the open beta client for Magic Online. You can build your deck as you
hi.
Oh, there we go.
Wow.
Yeah, you can build your deck by opening
do you
Prognostic Sphinx.
Do you
that's an even
Sphinx
better
or deal
way.
here?
I mean, you Sphinx, and it's
Sphinx.
not close.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is a control-ish blue deck, and it's an unkillable, win condition.
I look at this pack, though, like the greedy play is to hope for the Grip Tide to come back.
That is not going to happen.
I'm just saying
It would be wonderful,
Right.
but
The Ill-Tempered Cyclops might come back.
yeah, I think that is likely, or possible at least. I think part of the problem with the Griptide not coming back is that Ordeal of Thassa and Griptide are both good enough that even if there was only one other blue drafter, someone else is going to take one of those
Someone's
cards.
going to move in if they
Yeah.
see that card floating around 5th, 6th.
Yeah, which could impinge on Lars' ability to draft good blue cards a little bit, but you're still in great shape.
Yeah, that
there.
pack would have been better if it was Sphinx and no
There's
other
a
blue
red
cards.
Ordeal.
See, here's the big choice. I mean, the Red Ordeal is the most powerful card in this pack. I still would probably take one of the blue 5-drops here, like Sea Luck Monster or Prescient Chimera. You don't have low drops.
Right.
Ordeals just don't look good in your divination deck.
Right.
And I don't want to be red. I think I want to potentially be red, but I don't want to lock myself into
What
it.
do you think about Baleful Eidolon?
Baleful Eidolon is probably one of the best cards for the deck, but I still would rather keep options open here.
So would you see like Monster or Prescient Chimera?
I'd probably see Lock Monster. I actually like that guy a little bit more. Though I think Baleful Eidolon is a better pick than Ordeal Perforos. So
Okay.
I'm actually not unhappy taking the Baleful Eidolon there.
Well, hello.
Oh, Lars has some good options here. You can go off with Mnemonic Wall Retraction Helix, but he can also go off with Labyrinth Champion Retraction Helix. He's got double Helix to go with the Labyrinth Champion, and that is actually a reasonably strong combo.
Sure.
I don't think you want a null given you have 2 nullifies already,
Yeah.
and that it's just not that strong. I think you have to take one of the strong cards. With already 6 instants or sorceries in blue, Mnemonic Wall actually looks pretty good here.
But I think he's going to take the
Yeah,
the
Labyrinth Champion is just the most powerful card. Oh, there we go.
Wow.
I mean, Voyage's End, just the blue keeps coming. Even though he passed a couple blue cards, he's getting picking up a Voyage's End here, and this is late for Voyage's End. That card consistently goes in the first couple picks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Randy's going to do a lap if that Griptide comes back.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen here. I mean, if it does, then Lars is in the best shape possible, but I don't think that that's very likely.
It's not. The synergy isn't perfect here, though. Like he's getting card quality, and I'm not complaining.
No,
but
How do you like the Fortune Hunter?
the Fortune Hunter is great here with the double Retraction Helix. And with the Labyrinth Champion, there we go. The Fortune Hunter prompts him to just go ahead and get rid of all the black cards.
Is he thinking about Titan Strength or Dragon Mantle here?
I don't think so. I mean, you could
gotta be
take
Fortune
you
Hunter.
could take Dragon Mantle to go with Labyrinth Champion and to kind of bolster your heroic chances.
But I
I'd
think
rather
there's
take
Titan
the
Strength's coming back around the table.
right, and I'd rather take the Jace Bellerin, as Martin calls it.
Yeah.
Well, because now that Lars has 2 strong heroic enablers or heroic cards, he can actually value the heroic cards a lot better. Like he can take a lot of the enablers to go with the champion and the Fortune Hunter.
Yeah, you take,
You take off color Skyland here, right?
Yeah, I mean it's a good playable constructed rare. So no, they're actually fine to play. I would play most off color Skylands.
So you take the Oriad here?
Yeah,
Spear point,
I would
gotta be.
imagine so. I mean, it goes on both your heroic guys. You're not going to be having enough red mana symbols to really make use of Fnatic.
Right.
The Guardians of Meletis is actually a fine card in a deck like this, but I think Spear Point's just enough more powerful that you should just take it.
Yeah, that's what he does.
That late Labyrinth Champion makes the Bolt of Keranos, a lot better, because now even though you want to play most of the islands, you can still play 7 mountains and play these cards.
Omen Speaker.
Omen Speaker.
That's actually a perfect pickup. It's
Yeah.
it's not an
Oh,
insane
so
card,
is.
but he needs a 2-drop. It blocks. It also makes the Retraction Helix much more castable.
Yeah, I mean, that's a card that is going to not be attacking and sitting around.
Yeah, I think this is. I mean, this is for a red blue deck. This is one of the best red blue decks I've seen in a while. it's not that the archetype can't produce a good deck. It's
Right.
just it's less likely to happen and
Right.
come together.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because it's really hard to get as much blue as you're getting, and red's also not deep. But blue is very clearly wide open. So I think Lars is in great shape here.
He's looking at Opaline Unicorn here.
One thing I like about taking the Unicorn is between Unicorn and Temple of Deceit, he now has outs to splash black if he really wants to.
Sure.
Which
This
is
also
not
makes that Bolt of Karanos easier to cast.
exactly. It's not really looking to do that, but
Sea Luck
Sea Luck
Monster came back.
Oh my gosh.
all right. Well, we are doing it then.
It's not Griptide, but
But
it's close.
yeah. And I like the movement of Archetype of Aggression to the sideboard.
Yeah,
here,
me too.
Since that's not the card you want in this deck. Bolt of Kronos, you're fine casting on turn 7 when you draw your second
Exactly.
red, but splashing for a 3-drop is not
Wow,
great.
Amulet. He's got 3 outs
Yeah.
to splash black.
An Amulet could potentially be good in just a straight red-blue deck. It conflicts with Nullify because you want to go Island without tapping mana,
Mhm.
but it does help you splash
Oh, he's
if you
thinking
really
about
need
that
to.
Baleful Eidolon.
Yeah. And I think Amulet could also make it so you can cast your double red cards in your 10 island deck
Yeah.
a little bit better. But I don't think he's going to need to do that. He already has 17 good playables. Like in the pile that he has laid out as cards I might want to play, I don't hate any of those cards. So at this point, you're not going to be scrambling for actual like a numeric amount of playables. You can just look at card quality here.
And where do you go here? Do you go Island or Mountain?
I would
take the
probably
foil,
take
come
the
on.
foil.
Okay.
It's strictly better than not taking the foil.
Even though they don't get to keep these accounts.
Well, that's unlucky. That I don't know if that Temple of Deceit pick is right. Then.
You still got to have good practices.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my gosh. That's his emissary.
Yeah, I mean, I think if Thassa's Emissary and Nimbus Nide both weren't there, you could look at splashing Polis Crusher.
Yeah, I was thinking that
But
as well.
given that there's an insane blue card there, then you've got to just take it. Thassa's Emissary is awesome. I like it more than Nimbus Nide. It's close, but Thassa's Emissary is just way too good.
And by the way, he's going to get a Crackling Triton ninth out of this pack.
I think that's almost guaranteed. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 potential playables, 9 potential playables, not counting the Triton. So I'd be very surprised if the Triton didn't wheel. Yeah, it's always nice watching a draft just come together completely, and that's exactly what's happening here. Yep, there we go.
Wow.
Yeah, it looks like some double red cards are going to make it into the deck.
Ember Swallower worth putting in your deck.
Oh yeah, Ember Swallower is just an awesome card.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ember Swallower could just have italics in the text box, and it
Yeah.
would be really good.
yeah,
4
and,
5 for 4.
and the fact is, the Monstrous is super relevant because
Absolutely.
what do you want when both players are short on lands? You want
Sure.
a 7/8.
Sure. And and you're also Retraction Helix.
Yeah, you
Bounce your guy, untap,
Ember
sacrifice
Swallower.
your Ember
Lands.
Swallower, yeah.
I thought you were going to go. You can Retraction Helix, so you can Monstrous it twice and blow up 6 lands.
Oh.
That one's a bit aggressive.
Oh my gosh.
Sea God's Revenge third.
Oh my Sea God's Revenge.
Yeah. that-
OMSGR.
I mean, that's got to be the pick here. I'm actually a little less high on Sea God's Revenge than I was when the set first came out.
Sure.
I like Voyage's End a lot more, but still getting a Sea God's Revenge third is fine here. Lars would not mind a few more creatures. He's only got 11 right now, but I think that he can still pick those up. There's still plenty of like Crackling Triton type dudes that you can just pick up late. No one else is going to want.
So you see, as Lars is drafting, he's clicking on the card and reserving it, so it's going to pick as time runs out. What's the advantage of doing that rather than just slamming that card down?
Well, if you reserve it right away, you can also make sure that there's nothing bad happens if you lag or anything like that. So it's safe to do that, and then it gives them the most time to study the pack and not worry about clicking at the end.
Another
That
Omen
Great
Speaker.
Merchant's going to make somebody happy.
Yeah,
by the way.
someone got 2 Grey Merchants in this pack, and one of
Somebody
them's
cut
very
off
late.
black.
And
it's
this is what
totally
I was
getting paid
talking
off.
about like when we were talking about just the black. Yeah, there were Marshmas Titans in that first pack that you could have just gotten, probably 12th or 13th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Omen Speaker, just like last time, it was exactly what he wanted for the deck. I mean, it fills out the curve, it makes Retraction Helix better, just gives him an early play. So there's not a whole lot he can really wish for here. I mean, he's got
We think he's
a
gonna
bunch of
get a
bounce
Triton
spells.
back.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
I guess Ordeal's not ridiculous in this deck, but look how late it is floating around.
that's a really late ordeal.
It's not. Is it even good in this deck?
Well,
You play it and put it on a Chorus of Tides.
You put it
eventually?
on
well,
a-
he's got Labyrinth Champion and the
Yeah,
Triton
it
Fortune
triggers
Hunter.
the heroic.
So it's really good on both those guards. He's also got 2 Omen Speakers. I think the Ordeal's the pick here. The power
Yeah.
level's high enough that you should just take it.
Yeah, I
Do
agree.
you don't think about splashing black at this point and shipwreck
For the
Singer?
Shipwreck
Flame
Singer, no.
Speaker Adept.
So
That card seems very good for him.
I think it is, even though he doesn't have a ton of scry. He's
Yeah.
got a couple effects. He's got the 2 choruses. He's got Voyage's End. He's got Sea God's Revenge. But I think more importantly, it's a 3-mana 2/3, which
Right.
he actually
Yeah.
does need for his deck. I mean,
Agreed.
as good as Fate Foretold is with the heroic guys, I think he just wants more creatures.
Right. And you also just always threaten instant speed scry. Like, it's really difficult to block that guy.
Yeah, I mean, in a red blue deck when you're attacking with all your mana up, they've got to think, what could you have here, and the answer is really long.
There's the first of what will be a couple Crackling Titans.
Yeah. I mean, you would love a 2-drop here. It's probably not going to happen at this point, but I think picking up the Crackling Titans is still fine. You can maybe even replace some of the...
But he has the 2 nullifies also in place of those.
Yeah,
2
the nullifies do count as 2-drops.
Yep.
So
yeah, he's on 23, so now it's time to start cutting
I wouldn't be
cards.
surprised if the Flamespeaker Adept gets cut if he picks up both Crackling Titans. He doesn't need that many 3-mana 2/3s.
I might be cutting Opaline Unicorn here.
That's another one I'd look at cutting. So
There's Flamespeaker Adept number 2.
yeah, I mean, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, now he's going to have options. He gets to decide exactly how much red he wants to play and exactly where he wants his curve to be.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he wants to minimize red as much as possible, but you still, with Ember Swallower and Bolt, you're going to want to play at least like 7 mountains.
Agreed.
I'd be surprised if he tries to get away with playing 6. Wow, the other Kraken Trade didn't actually wheel. This was, it looks like I assume that someone would take either Agent of Horizons or Viper's Kiss or Shredding Winds over it, but I guess nobody was interested in those cards. So.
Fine.
This is still reasonable. I mean,
that just makes it a little easier for Lars. One fewer
That's
card
to decide what
one
to cut.
fewer card to cut.
Yep.
Oh, there's a Fate Foretold that just came back all the way around.
Yeah, and Fate Foretold is, I mean, it is a very reasonable card in this deck.
He has it in his sideboard though.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is that he's got so many good spells. He's got to play a minimum number of creatures. Once those are all done, maybe he has room for cards like Fate Foretold.
Right. So he moved one of the choruses to the sideboard.
Wow, that I'd be surprised. I don't think I'd be cutting a chorus from this deck.
He's clearly got 23 spells. That's his plan.
I do like Dark Betrayal, though. Picking up a Dark Betrayal is awesome because you're going to play the Temple anyway, and you can side in Dark Betrayal very easily, especially if you end up on Unicorn or something else. I'm not saying he necessarily will side it in if he plays against black, but if they have
Gives
some
him an option.
if they have some creatures he has trouble dealing with, it's not an unreasonable card to have. So do you take Begarden Hellkite here or Destructive Overway? And it looks like Lars ends up with basically like kind of like the perfect red-blue deck. The red-blue decks don't look very similar because there's so few of them that the variance is very high. But this is just a very good collection of red and blue spells that actually work together well.
So the question though is the perfect red-blue deck. How good is that?
Oh, in this case, it's very good.
Very good, yeah.
I think there's no way Lars can't be happy with this. And it wasn't like the power level of this draft was insanely high either. I mean, he passed some Grey Merchants, but it wasn't like he was passing a million good cards every every pack. In fact, saw 0 white heroic cards. So, I mean, I would not be surprised if there was like 3 white decks at this table, which is also good news for Lars.
Right. Yeah. So we had another player drafting in the feature match area. We had Thomas Glied, and I think we can take a look at his deck building and see what he drafted.
So he's the one who is the beneficiary of picking up the late Shipwreck Singer and at least one of the Grey Merchants, it looks like.
That's double though. That mana curve, the mana constraints in that deck don't look awesome.
And if you're playing a Springleaf Drum to fix that, that's a little unfortunate for you as well.
It depends on how many Servant of Timorets you have.
And it looks like a.
Yeah. So what do you think of this deck, Brian? So this is Tomasz Glied. He's going to be playing against Lars Dom. They are the 2 guys on 6 and 1.
And the 2 guys
will be paired in the first round.
The 2 guys drafting blue.
Yeah, evidently.
Oh, he's got an Ashiok.
Haha. And a Siren.
Yeah,
that's where the Siren wound up.
I don't love the Sphinx's Disciple. I mean, and clearly neither does Tomasz.
Yeah, no, the double blue cards here. He's only got 7 blue cards in his deck right now. Well, plus the gold cards. It's more like 10. But I'd be looking at those double blue cards. Even Prescient Chimera is probably worth it. I don't know that Sphinx's Disciple is, but then again, it's also a question of like, what does he have in the sideboard that he can move in? The power level in this deck looks nice, and it looks like he picked up a lot of black cards that can sometimes get people to pass you Grey Merchant of Asphodel. Sort of the black gambit in this format. Like in full Theros, everybody was taking their Grey Merchants. There were a lot of people fighting over black. The black is so much weaker in Born of the Gods that if you're the guy who cuts it off, you can get rewarded. And here he got 2 Sip of Hemlock and a Grey Merchant sitting at the top of his curve. So some nice black cards.
I think there were 3 Marshmist Titans in the draft. Interestingly, didn't get.
Yeah, we saw a lot of them, and it did not look like he picked any up. Though he would definitely be interested in that. I mean, that is the Mir Enforcer of the format. So it actually,
I like the Shipwreck Singer, though.
So I've been told that it looks like Corey Lack drafted a pretty sick-looking blue-green deck. If we want to take a look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Can you pull that up on your machine, LSV?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and try to do that here. Boom.
There we go.
Oh, well, and I guess
Wow.
we know what he first picked.
Yeah, so it looks like we've got.
Wow, look at this deck.
I mean, he's got Kiora, he's got Arbor Colossus, he's got not only that, he's got actually just like a million other just good cards besides those 2 headliners. So, this we were talking about the perfect red-blue deck, and this is surprising. This is about a perfect blue-green deck too. He's even got a Voyage's End and a Triton Tactics as far as good combat tricks.
And now Corey is in this other pod.
Right.
So this is exactly what he's hoping for in this deck in terms of, having a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I mean the people in the second pod are looking at if you don't 3-0 this draft, then you are looking at maybe tiebreaker in the top 4. One person out of the pod has guaranteed spot if they 7-0, presumably.
Yep.
But if you don't 3-0 the pod, then it's gonna be tough.
Anybody else's deck we should be peeking in on?
I mean, yeah. Let's see how Lars Dom's deck has turned out.
Okay. Oh, 11-5. No, okay. Is he gonna go 18 land?
8-8 and the Temple. Oh no, 9-7 in the Temple.
Sure. So it's effectively 10-7, but one of
Right.
the islands comes into play tapped and scries. Okay, and so in terms of red cards, he did play both the Flamespeaker Adepts. He's got the Bolt and the Ember Hauler. What's he doing? He's putting land in his sideboard?
Yes. So the way this,
Oh, you have to put them in the sideboard.
you really need to put them in your sideboard in case you are going to want these lands later.
Sure. So he wound up with, because we're not sorted by mana cost here, right? Both choruses did wind up in the deck.
Right. Yeah. He moved the Assassin's Emissary and the pure Spear Point Oriad to his 6 drops. So they are sorted by.
Is that
casting cost.
Labyrinth Champion in the sideboard?
That is Labyrinth Champion in the sideboard.
So he decided Labyrinth Champion was not worth it. How many ways did he have to target it? The 2 Retraction
1, 2,
Helixes?
3, 4.
And he's playing 1 Nullify is where he wound up.
Right. 5. He's got 5 ways to target it without, using his removal-y or tempo spell.
Sure.
I'm surprised he did not end up playing Labyrinth Champion. I would have definitely been looking to get that guy in there. So it looks like Dmitry Budkov also drafted a really sick-looking deck. It could be that the power level of both these drafts is just off the charts here. So if you look at if we can go to Dimitri's deck here, I've got it pulled up and
Can we pull up the Red Zone computer?
Yeah, if we go to the Red Zone computer, we'll take a look at Dimitri's deck. Which does look.
Which has triple Gray Merchant of
my.
Asphodel.
Wow.
Which is, obviously exactly where you want to be when you've got all those cards. You've got, Rescue from the Underworld. You've got Disciple of Phoenix. So.
Right. Who doesn't love the myth of the Gray Merchant and the Evangel of Heliod coming back from hell together?
Yeah, but even past that, he's got a Brimaz, King of Oreskos, which
What?
is
Wait.
the second best, card in Born of the Gods.
Wow.
So he's got not only the Gray Merchant plan, he's also got the Brimaz plan, which is draw Brimaz and cast it. The only thing this deck is really lacking is it actually doesn't have that many low drop black creatures, just because besides the 3 Gray Merchants and the Disciple, it's a little thin on the lower part of the curve. He doesn't have a lot of the 2 and 3 drop black creatures that you'd want.
You realize what he's playing? He's got the Forlorn Sudama. He's playing black-white tokens.
Evangel of Heliod.
Yes.
Yeah, Brimaz. He's just missing a Spear of Heliod, and he'd be set.
Yeah, he's kind of made his curve look better by putting all the bestow guys down at their natural cost. Like, he's not really planning to play Hopeful Eidolon on turn 1. Well, not unless he's got the Ordeal in his hand. And then you do what you got to do.
Yeah, this is a pretty awesome looking deck. The biggest disadvantage is he's got double white, double white, and then 4 triple black or 4 double blacks. So his mana is just going to be split. It's going to be like playing 9/8, and just kind of
Yeah,
hoping it works out.
How many planes did he end up playing? 1, 2, 3.
He's probably going to be playing 9 planes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like 9.
Yeah, that's because, I mean, Brimaz is turn 3, Grey Merchant's turn 5. You need a little bit more white than black.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly the reason. I mean, you really want to cast Brimaz on turn 3. You can cast Grey Merchant on turn 6 or 7, and it's still going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Right.
So he did opt not to play War Chanter Mogus because he has so many 5-drops, and Viper's Kiss is actually a card I've liked a lot. It looks like he ran both Boon of Erebos and Mortal's Ardor in his kind of like 1-drop spell slot instead.
Right. Has another Mortal's Ardor in his sideboard. Do you how do you feel on the Revoke Existence versus Ray of Dissolution?
I like Ray better. Just the fact that it's an instant means that they bestow an attack, and you get to blow them out by blowing up the bestow creature and blocking.
Right.
So Revoke is the kind of card I would end up siding in if I'm facing the gods or other indestructible cards. But Ray is definitely the better main deck card.
Or you might double up on if they have a ton of targets.
Yeah. So it looks like our feature match round 1 is going to be the 2-6-1 players.
Absolutely. So we're gonna see, and the two blue drafters.
Yeah, pretty much. Lars Dom wound up with blue with just enough red. Meanwhile, Tomas Glid sitting on the blue-black. What do you think of that matchup, Luis?
I like Lars's chances a little better. I feel like the overall card quality of his deck is higher.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that based on power level, or is that based on the way those color combinations
and his
pair?
mana is going to be better. But Tomas has a lot of strong cards, and also cards like Retraction Helix are generally not at their best against red-blue. So I for the most part would prefer to be in the red-blue seat, but a lot of the bounce spells are just not as effective as they normally would be.
Right.
Makes sense.
Okay. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think we are ready to start watching people play Magic.
Awesome.
Enough with the deck building, enough with the drafting. It's time for the fighting.
I like it.
So we're going to send it down to the floor where we're going to watch Lars Dom. We're not quite ready. Okay.
All right.
So
Dmitry Budakov's deck looked awesome. Like the Dmitry Budakov triple Grey Merchant, that he is on pod 1. He's one of the guys sitting on 4 and 3. So you've got the defending champ there who is set up, ready to try to make a run. He's got to put some wins together, but he's got exactly the deck he needs to get from 4-3 up to maybe 7-3.
Yeah, I mean raw power. You could see him stumbling there a little bit. Let's take a look at some of the profiles of the players we're going to be watching in this round, though. There you get a look at Lars Dom, Malavi on Magic Online from Denmark. Guy's been playing Magic Online for good 9 years now. 6 years, sorry.
And there's that gaudy 69% winning percentage we were talking about. And it's not just 69% in matches. It's also the 69% in the mocks.
Oh, but yeah, almost 69.5. It goes up a little bit.
A little bit.
In the mocks.
Its sample size a little smaller.
Sure,
there.
yeah, obviously.
Yeah, the 4,000 lifetime matches played, by the way, pretty much middle of the pack for this crowd. Yeah. I mean, below average because you've got, Hannes Karem pulling up the average. There's only probably, 2 or 3 people above average in matches played.
Right.
But yeah, 4,300 middle of the pack. That is not a small sample size.
Yeah, 11 Pro Tour appearances. Which makes him actually the most Pro Tour experienced player in the mocks.
Right.
Not the most successful in terms of finish.
Right.
Because we have 2, obviously, top 8 competitors.
Yeah, but you don't accidentally qualify for 11 Pro Tours.
No.
I mean, even if you haven't put up, the top whatever finish at the Pro Tour, just qualifying for 11 of them is a sign you might know what you're doing.
You might accidentally need to requalify for several of them. But let's take a look at Tomas Glid. There you get a look at him. He's only 19 years old.
Yep.
A young guy.
On his username. It's just, what, really?
Just for the rub-ins. A few fewer matches, a little bit lower win percentage. But again, this is someone we've seen at the Pro Tour. He has a number of day 2 finishes.
Oh, yeah, he's an up-and-comer. He's only been around for a couple of years, but he's already starting to put up results. Team Hungary got into the top 4 at the World Magic Cup, and, Tomas Glid, when he's around, he's been putting up results.
Right, he's sort of like all in on a win here this weekend. I mean, it's like, you don't want to come to one of these events. You want to be like, I want to do really well. I'd like to finish strong, but he's like, I actually need the win because I need to get back in. It looks like we have another build. Is that I see some mountains and some plains. I'm pretty excited.
Oh,
so
what did LSV find
let's send
for us
it
in the
back
red
to
zone?
the red zone and see what Luis Scott Vargas is looking at.
So we've got Seth Manfield's deck here, and it's a 15-land special, which is actually kind of what you want when you're in the deck he's got. He's got a
red-white?
He's got a red-white deck. He's got, favored Hoplite into double a Crow and Hoplite
nice.
into a giant pile of other 2-drops.
And that's sort of by mana curve, right? There's nothing above 3 except the single Portent of Betrayal.
Yeah, his most expensive card is Portent of Betrayal at 4. And other than that, everything costs 2 or 3 mana. Sadly, only 1/1-drop.
Right.
But this is still a very good example of the red-white deck.
Yeah, that Portent of Betrayal is the heartbreaker, right? You feel like you finally stabilize. You're like, oh, I finally drew my land to play my Nessian Asp. and then they're just like, nope, take an attack with everybody, you're dead.
Yeah, and he even has he has a couple bestow creatures that can, suit up at 5 or 6 mana. So if he draws 5 or 6 lands, he's not completely out of luck. But yeah, he's happiest when he draws 3 lands and all spells.
It's more of a base red touch white in that build as well.
Yeah, it's much heavier in red in terms of the low drops.
So. All right.
Well, that deck always feels a little. I mean, you really want to be able to tighten strength in that deck and do all that kind of stuff.
So it looks like the guys are getting close to ready here. So we're gonna go ahead and cut to that soon. Yeah,
the build is over. Players are now gonna have to go set up into the pairings for the first round. So like we talked about, two pods of players have drafted here. The top half of the field, the bottom half of the field. It's basically everybody above 500 is on one pod. Everybody below 500 is on a second pod of 8. We know who the first feature match is going to be, Lars. If you guys are curious what the other matchups are going to be, Dmitry Budkov, who we saw with the sick triple gray merchant deck, he's playing against Paul Nemeth, 4/3 pairs. Andrei Strasky is going to be playing against Ansi Alkio. Should be a nice match to keep an eye on. And then Hannes Karem gets Rune Anderson. Rune's a guy I'm kind of interested to see how he does today.
Oh, absolutely.
He qualified. He's only got, we've talked about, 4,000 lifetime matches from this guy, 20,000 from Hannes Karem. He's got more like 400.
Yeah.
A legacy specialist. You know what? There was one season where the Mox final to qualify here was legacy, and that's the one that he won. Now he's like, I got to learn how to draft now.
And in Cube, he went 3-0.
Exactly. He went 3-0 in Cube. Modern stumbled a little bit, but I'm curious to see if he can hold his own in draft.
We have another Red Zone update to
great.
Let's take a look.
This is Gabriel Rogozner's draft deck, and
that is a thing of beauty.
Talking about heroic decks, I mean, this is the white-blue heroic deck that's got the fabled hero, the most heroic of all the heroic cards.
Absolutely. And Battle-Wise Hoplite
and
is
Phalanx
so good.
Leader.
Yep, he's got that two of the 3 best heroic cards in the Phalanx Leader and the Fabled Hero.
Yeah, Biden of Fasa seems really good in this
and
deck
one
too.
of the most underrated cards, I think, in the archetype, the Cavalry Pegasus.
Yeah, the Pegasus is actually very strong. Turn 2 Pegasus, turn 3 Fabled Hero, kills your opponent even without doing anything else. You don't really need to even enchant up the Fabled Hero.
Right.
Only 11 creatures. Is that an issue here?
It's a little low, and he's got a lot of things to go on them. A lot of chosen by Heliads and Aqueous forms.
That's
and whatnot.
what I'm looking at.
It looks like he also has an Oracle's Insight, which is probably there as a heroic trigger.
Oracle's Insight, my Fabled Hero, attack you for 6.
Wait, I see. Oh, Spirit of the Labyrinth is in the sideboard. He's Creature Light. I'd be tempted to run the Spirit, but I guess it's not a good combo.
No,
with
it
chosen
does
by
not.
Heliod.
Or Biden to Thassa.
Yes, no, it turns off all your own card draws if you run it.
You can put Oracle's Insight on it and use it during their turn, but other than that, Spirit of the Labyrinth is risky. I think it attacks for enough damage that I would probably have just played it.
Yeah, 11 creatures looks light to me.
And just assume if your opponent doesn't deal with it, if it just sits in play, then you're hitting them for 3 a turn.
Exactly.
And that's more than fine.
That's a nice deck. Whose deck is this, did you say?
This is Gabriel Rogozner.
Okay, so Pod 2. Gabriel will be playing against David Kaufman in the first round.
Yeah, and this looks like probably two creatures short of a near, a perfect blue-white heroic deck.
Yeah, Evangel's maybe a little expensive for what the blue-white heroic deck wants to be, but...
And he doesn't have any bounce spells. He just has a Sudden Storm and a Last Breath and a God's Willing as tricks, which are good, but a Voyage's End is exactly what he's looking for here.
Nice.
Right, he would trade that Oracle's Insight for just about any bounce spell.
Yeah, I think that is accurate. He does have the Airy Worshipper's Oracle's Insight combo though, which is a nice one. I mean, that is a relevant way to win. He even has Ifar's Warden to tap his Airy Worshippers if he needs to.
That's going a little bit deep.
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes you don't draw a Fabled Hero and you do have to go deep to win.
Yeah,
If you draw Fabled Hero or Battle Wise Hoplite, you're probably just going to win the game if they don't get killed.
Right.
If you don't, you do have to kind of do slightly more complicated things in order to go off. Another combo he's got is Evangel of Heliod, Biden of Thassa. I mean, you make a bunch of tokens, you play Biden, and you attack with 6 tokens. That is a good way to go off.
It feels like Evangel somehow got a little bit better in
With
this
Born?
than it was in Triple Theros. Is it because the card pool was a little bit deeper in Triple Theros that you didn't need to go there?
Yeah, I think that's definitely part of it. You also, I mean, the lack of Wingsteed Riders is unfortunate because those were pretty good enablers for it. But it does stop. I mean, a lot of the heroic guys in Board of the Gods are ground creatures, so it does having more chump blockers for those is relevant. You're also less likely to get Grey Merchanted out a bunch, which Evangel does not help you against.
Looks like players are.
Okay. So it sounds like we are finally
great.
ready to go down to the floor and watch Thomas Gliad try to hold off the 70% match win percentage of Lars Dom for round 8 here from the Magic Online Championship.